So my name is Donna McCallum. I am a transformation catalyst, and I've been doing this work since 2005. I've been doing it online since 2009, and I teach in three main areas. I teach people how to manifest their dreams and goals and vision for their lives, how to make it happen in reality. I teach women how to be great with money and to feel confident and move into their financial stability, financial independence, and ultimately financial freedom. And then I teach about magic and how to really connect to the alignment and magic of life and have life force energy flowing abundantly through you, and what that manifests in your external reality, whether that is feelings of just foundation and safety, whether that's amazing holidays and travel, whether that's incredible business success, whether it's family and home, whatever it is. When you have abundant life force energy flowing through you, life becomes way more magical to live.
So good. Okay. So where were you before you joined ABI? Like, how did you feel? What was hard? What was difficult?
So where I was before I joined ABI was I had just come out of a pretty tumultuous 2 years. So I think most of the world in 2020 and 2021 went through a tumultuous time. And mine wasn't even kind of COVID related. I'd become a mother at the age of 44. So previously I'd been very focused on my career, very focused on my business, but I became a mother at the age of 44, and just as lockdown hit. So new mom and COVID. And then because of COVID, my husband's business completely disintegrated. He's a marine engineer, and he normally travels around the world to work on ships and oil rigs. And so our whole life kind of hustled, and thank goodness I had an online business and I run online programs, and I've been doing it for years. So I had a pretty sustainable business. But to cut a long story short, we ended up moving continents. So with a 15-month-old, I packed up my whole house and life in South Africa and moved across to Europe, to Portugal, to a country where we don't speak the language. And in all of that was still running my business and now being the sole breadwinner until my husband could get back on his feet and start earning again in this new country that we're in. And so it was like 2020 had been amazing in my business, I think because I was already automatically online and had been for years. In my teaching, and also because people were looking to move out of scarcity and out of fear and into abundance. People were looking at creating more solidity with their money and feeling more secure there. But 2021, because of my own shifts, was pretty tumultuous. And so when I first saw ABI, I saw it just as we were about to move to Portugal, and I thought, wow, this looks amazing, but there's no ways I can commit to it now. And then when it came across my radar in May of this year, we'd been in Portugal for almost a year. I was starting to feel some sense of settling, but I was feeling pretty down about my business and a bit burnt out about my business, also because my business had done so well in 2020 and then pretty much like halved in 2021, and I've been doing it for 16 or 17 years, and I was like, fuck, I don't want to be on this fucking treadmill anymore. And like, after 17 years, are you kidding me? Do I really need to be like on a treadmill? Like, what? I've been, and not only just 17 years coaching and teaching, but like I've been online since 2009. So I'm not a newbie. And I knew that there was something that needed to shift, not only in my business, but also just from a mindset perspective and a just next leveling up perspective. Because even though my business had done incredibly well in 2020, there's definitely been a glass ceiling that I continue to hit and bounce off of in my business. And this has been going on for a while. And that's, yeah, I was despondent. And the more I was in this negative spiral, feeling despondent about my business, the more I didn't want to post on social media, and I didn't want to send out to my email database, and I didn't want to run another program again. And that's not me. And I just knew that something had to shift. Like, either I needed to close up this business and say, it's been an amazing experience, and now let me move on to something else, or like, I've got to change something.
Oh, such a good story. And you should, not only were you moving to a new country with you being the sole breadwinner, but also with like a baby.
No, fucking crazy, man.
You're like, glad that's over, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's been the most intense period of my life, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For
So
sure.
what was your biggest reluctance around investing?
So initially, when I saw ABI, I went on and I'd seen the program before, and then I did Sam's webinar. And on the webinar, Sam was talking about being a fertility goddess, I think, and I just suddenly saw myself in creating I love creating programs. I love creating new programs because I've been doing this for a long time, and my students get amazing results on my programs. My students keep coming back into the next program, and I love them creating the next program. And so many of my students say, like, what's next? What's next? So I have got this trail of programs behind me that, yeah, Sam calls it a program graveyard. Like, I've run them, I've launched them, I've done them a few times, and then they've sort of, tailed off. And there's incredible value there. They're great programs, but I found myself in this consistent, like, live launch cycle rather than making the assets that I've already got, that I've built over more than a decade, really work for me. So that was something that was a big, like, aha for me in the webinar. And also the biggest reluctance I had around investing, well, firstly, I didn't know what the price was. So I was like, oh, should I even apply? This sounds expensive. and then I thought, oh, well, I'll just have the call. And before the call, I'd completely prepped, I'm not going to buy. There's no sales technique that's going to make me buy. I'm just curious. In fact, I'm just going to see what her sales technique is. And then I was absolutely fascinated that there was no sales technique. And I was so refreshed, actually, that it was a pure conversation, like real, deep, honest, amazing conversation. And I walked away from that thinking, wow, if you could be so genuinely curious and interested in me and my business with zero salesiness on a call, that's the kind of program that I want to do. And then you told me the price, and I was like, because it's the biggest mastermind price that I've ever paid. I think prior to this, the biggest program price I've ever paid is $2,500 or $3,000. So it was a big shift up. And then I sat with it, and the next morning I felt so nervous, but so excited. And for me, that's always a clear sign. Like, if I feel excited and nervous, then I'm in the exact sweet spot for growth. And one of the biggest things that I realized is that I would commit so crazily because of the money that I was spending. And I did. And that was one of the biggest benefits to me of the price tag, was that I was like, I am going to suck the marrow out of every bit of this program and get the juice. So I'm committing to the webinars. And because I'm in Europe, the webinars are much later in the evening that I would normally let myself be on a webinar for. I've been on many other programs where I've been like, oh, it's the wrong time zone. Okay, I'll miss it. I'm up, I'm here, I'm on the calls, I'm doing it. And that's what's made the big difference for me on this program, is really being so engaged.
It really does make a difference. There's always the people who are like, they're on every single call, and you came to it with such a beautiful mindset around, this is valuable, I'm valuable, I've invested in this because I'm investing in myself, and like your full presence was always there. So I just echoing that back of it.
Okay.
It really showed up in the results you got for sure. So
I mean, I haven't done as much of the content as I'd like, which
you can do that
is
later.
yeah, but that's why I want to take the break.
Yeah.
But it felt to me like, yeah, the showing up and the coaching and the being live and just being in the energy of it and the mindset and the magic stuff is really what was most needed for me now.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that going through your content in the next 4 or 5 months will be next level shifting for me. And that's why I want to do that and then come back into the coaching and container.
Oh, I can just like see it settling in. That's great.
Yeah, it feels to me, it's a bit like your bloated example. Like, I feel like I'm bloated now. And like, let me go and like lie for a few months, digest, go through slowly, implement slowly, and then come back in.
Yeah. You seem like one of the rare few who will actually do it. I feel like most people, like, they're in a program and then they're out of the like the live element of the program and then they never ever go through the material. They'll just like go buy another program. So you actually seem like someone
for me, no, I can be both. Like there are many that I've, you know, dipped in and dipped out and never gone back to and all of that. Again, because of the investments, I'm like, and kudos to you, Sam, like your style of teaching, and you might want to include this, so I'm just going to say this to you, like, just, and you can edit it.
Yeah, this is all edited.
Okay. So the thing that is most awesome for me about your teaching and your coaching compared to any of the programs I've done, and I have done many digital marketing programs. I've been doing this stuff since 2009, 2010. So I've done, you know, like product launch formula and Facebook ads and Instagram and like every little new trend that came. I've like, oh, and let's do a course on this and let's do a course on that. But the thing that has been most refreshing for me is that you are so about people showing up authentically and doing exactly what is right for them and their business and who they are and their personality. And the fact that you brought human design into it and astrology into it, and even tailor-made it around like, oh, okay, who are you? What do you want? And I've seen you in a number of coaching, not just of me, but other participants, like that they can go 7 ways, but which one feels right for them versus here's the formula, you better follow it because you can make 7 figures out of this formula. And that is what's made all the difference for me in this program, because all other programs, I'm a rebel inherently, and I'm like, I don't want to do it the way everyone else is doing it. Like, I want to do different things. And so that freedom to be able to come back into my own self-trust, which was really there when I started out in digital in 2009 and before, you know, and until probably 2014, because no one else was doing it. And so I had a lot of my own, like, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to try it. And then I must say, there's been a hell of a lot of confusion for me in the last 6 or 7 years through doing a lot of the courses. And for me, your course has been so beautiful. Like, I've promised myself, I am not doing a digital marketing course in 2023. Like, I'm not buying any. I'm solidifying my ABI knowledge. I'm continuing to go through your workbook. I'm going to keep putting in the systems because that's what my business really needs now. I'm very clear I'm moving to 7 figures, and that's my goal. My success is inevitable. I just need to put in the systems. You've got the systems there, and I can choose which are the systems that work for me, not like prescriptively, which feels really free. And then in 6 months' time, I'm coming back to you for another round of coaching, live coaching, so that I can keep up leveling again. That's the power for me, is the non-formulaic part of us.
I love that so much. That makes me so happy. Thank you for sharing that. It is really important to me because I like the people who I actually see not burning out in their business, because there's plenty of people who will follow formulas and then they just burn themselves out because they're following someone else's formula. But the people who I see who are easily growing are so tuned in to their own intuitive hits of like, oh, why don't I do it this way? Why don't I do it that way? And that's how you actually stay in front of the market, right? Because there is like a sense of market fatigue of like, you see everyone do the product launch formula and then everyone's like, well, now they're
That's
like,
how you do it.
And
Here's the 4 videos. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I was so interested in your course, because I have followed the peoples whose businesses you have helped build. You know, so I have been following Carolyn Elliott for 5 years. I had bought her book, but hadn't bought any of her courses until early this year. But have been watching her from a digital marketing perspective and looking at that and saying, wow, you know, look at how authentic she's being. And oh my goodness, she's just completely changed this up. And oh, wow, she's thrown everything out and been brave enough to say, this no longer works for me. And now I'm doing it this way. And that really resonated for me.
Love that so much. So good. Okay. So what do you feel like is, I know some of the biggest shifts that you've expressed around the program have been your launch being easier. You've mentioned tracking your time has been really huge. And also just tapping into your intuition. So can you first tell me about the time element of, I mean, first of all, Toggle changing your life, or tracking your time changing your life, and how would that look like?
Yeah, so one of the things in my business, I have a lot of freedom in my business already, and that's been built in, you know, that was built in 2014 or 2015. So that whole thing of being a slave to my business and having a team, I have that. I don't necessarily delegate in the best way, for sure, because I'm very last minute, and I like to, you know, fly creatively by the seat of my pants. So my poor team has to kind of juggle in the background and catch things, which I will be improving very, very shortly. And I've just improved much more on my last launch. But Toggle was one of, I mean, there are a few tools that have been introduced to me through ABI, and Toggle was just a game changer. I have started tracking my time. I've started tracking all my team's time. And for the first time can really see how long things take. So in July, I decided to run a Bitcoin masterclass, a mini workshop that I was very excited to do. And because I was now using Toggle to track my time, I just said to my team, oh, we'll do this. I know we've got a major launch coming up at the beginning of September, but we'll just put this in. And, you know, I'm always excited to create new things. So like, and using Toggle, I realized that small things take actually just as long as big things. It was such a powerful realization for me that this small little mini workshop that I was just going to, you know, put in took so much time. I can track my team's time. I can track my time. It also has made me so much more focused and productive, because I now start like, right, I'm working on copywriting for my emails, start. And then I write, and then I stop. And because Toggle is tracking, it's so weird. I don't go and check my emails in between. I don't go and look at one of my Facebook groups and do some coaching. I don't look at my phone and WhatsApp. I'm just like, I'm writing, Toggle's measuring it. That's it. And it's been amazing for me how over the last 5 or 6 years, my attention span has shortened. My ability to be distracted has got way bigger. I used to be much more focused. Maybe it's becoming a mom. Maybe it's just what's happening to all of our attention spans because of screen time. But Toggle has really refocused me, which has been amazing. I can see what my team is spending their time on. I've also realized that one of my team is just spending way too much time on customer service, and she really needs to be taken off that, and we need to get someone else. So it's also helping me to see how I need to allocate resources and where people need to be.
And for those listening, Toggle is a time tracking app that I love and I recommend. And Donna actually took on the challenge, or took the invitation to track her time, which not everyone does. And this is like her story about it. It really shows the power of knowing where your time is going, and how better you can be at decision making when you do, not just for yourself, but your entire team. And so anyone listening, like Toggle, it's a free app, like definitely go check it out. I've recommended it a few times before. Anyways. And then I know that during your last launch, you said that you were using in Toggle, there's a way that you can like tag your different tasks, and you started tagging things that were both draining or like really time consuming, or like you'll never do it again. Can you talk about that?
It's called I have this little tag that it's called Donna, never to do again. And I was just tagging things, like as I was doing tasks, thinking, I don't want to do this. This is not in my zone of genius. Like, I should not be doing this in my business. Why am I doing this? And I'm doing it mainly because I'm a deadline worker, and it's going to take too long to send to someone to do, and I was just like, Donna, never to do again, never to do again. And it felt so good tagging it. Like, as I was tagging it, I'm never doing this again. And now I've got a very clear path over the next 4 or 5 months of all the tasks I'm delegating out. I'm just go through those, never doing them again. It feels so amazing.
I love that so much. It is really the biggest thing. I used to have a Post-it right next on my desk that was, do you ever have to do this again? And it was when I was really getting started of committing to delegating to my team, because it is one of the biggest, when you're ambitious, when you're smart, when you're fast at what you do, when you like can really do anything because you're like, yeah, I can figure it out on my own. It's so easy just to lean on that. But you being willing to take the time to hand it over to someone, there is such a mental barrier around it and resistance of like, but I can do it faster myself, or what if they get it wrong, or I can do it better, which is an absolute barrier for growth in the long run. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
And
Okay, so
and what I'm learning from you is also just the way to delegate it in a way that once you've delegated it, you know that they'll be able to do it. So you've got systems and processes in place, and you've got some kind of management in place to be able to just monitor them. Because that's always been my thing. Like, I've also had standard operating procedures and YouTube videos of how to do it, but my management of people afterwards hasn't been so great. And, I see in your workbook, I've been through it in your systems practices, how to then like monitor and check in and do that. And so that's the next step and phase for me in the business, is to really put that into place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to call them controls, which is hilarious because it's like forcing you to let go of control. And it's really about like, because we talk about externalized energies and ABI, and like, how do we actually like take all of this out of ourselves and put it into our business? And like, controls are so that you don't have to be in control, but instead your business is self-regulating and can control the people and control the system, so you don't have to. It's such an important piece. So I'm really excited for you. Okay, so I want to hear about your most recent launch for the 7 levels of abundance.
So the 7 levels of abundance is a program that I've been running since 2019. It's a 7-month program. It's all about how to use the chakra system to diagnose where scarcity sits in your life, and then how to balance those chakras so that you open up to full life force energy flowing abundantly through you, and all of the amazing benefits that brings in all of the different chakra areas. And in 2019 and 2020, in 2019, because it was the first time I ran it, a lot of my previous students did it, and I had a very easy, launch, because it was going into a body of students that know me and know my work, and have had great results from me previously. In 2020, I had a fantastic launch. I had 57 people join the program. At that stage, it was $1,000, the price point. And in 2021, I had because I was going through this move, etc., I did the same, very similar launch to the one that I did in 2020 that had worked so well. And I had a completely disappointing, devastating launch. I thought I was just going to run the same similar launch, have 57 people show up again, and 21 people showed up. And I had to get through my kind of disappointment around that, and my upset around that, and my feelings of failure around that, while moving countries and child and all of that stuff. And so I was pretty nervous about launching it again. And it's also one of the reasons why I chose to join ABI, because I knew that I love the work and that it's freaking amazing work. But over the years of having launch after launch after launch after launch, and some really great ones and some deeply disappointing ones, one of the things that I realized very early on at ABI was that there was some kind of launch trauma going on for me. Like, actually, I had not just like digital marketing work to do, some serious mindset work and some serious forgiveness work and some serious Ho'oponopono work to do on previous versions of myself that have launched. And so I asked Sam for coaching on that before I even started my launch prep. And your coaching was awesome, Sam. And you gave me a whole series of questions to ask and about what would make this different. But one of the questions that you gave me to ask, which was just profound for me, was that you always get what you want. Like, what did you want last launch? What were your goals and what did you want last launch? And if you didn't get it, how did you get it? How did you still get the full value of the launch? And it was such a profound question for me, because it made me realize that despite having a deeply disappointing launch, my business was still completely self-sustaining in 2021. My other programs made up for it. There were some other programs that were pretty effortless, surprisingly for me, and that my team were impeccable. And I just was like, wow, I've actually got such an amazing foundation. And it made me come out of this despondency that I was in before joining ABI around, oh, when is it going to happen to me? And everyone's moving to 7-figure businesses or multi six-figure businesses. When is it my turn? To realizing, like, geez, I have so much in place, and let me do a lot of clearing out. And, you know, I do energy alignment work with my students. I do mindset work with my students. I use all these tools, but you can't coach yourself. It doesn't matter how powerful you are as a transformational teacher, healer, coach, practitioner, magic person. Like, you have to have a coach. And it was profound for me to have you as my coach, Sam, and for you to ask those kinds of questions, so that I could self-reflect. And I used a lot of my own tools. I also used some of your tools. Sam has beautiful hypnotherapy tools that she provides in ABI that I was like, right, the effortless way to launching successfully. Woohoo, bring it on. I'm just going to lie in my bed and listen to this. And it works. You know, it really, so the magic work and the mindset work was huge for me. And then one of the other big benefits of ABI was the copy coaching. I've always known that the copy needs to be up-leveled in my business. I love writing. I feel very comfortable with my own style. I do tend to be a bit philosophical and metaphysical rather than around practical results. And so Elizabeth's copy coaching stretched me. There were times when I wanted to kill her. There were times when I was marching around my office, like screaming, I don't need to improve my copy. and then sitting down and going through it again. And one of the things that's testament to that is that there are 3 people that recently joined my latest program who commented on an email that I sent about your relationship with your mother affecting your money. And they were like, I read this email. I knew I had to join the program. And that's one of the ones that I'd been like pacing up and down the most, getting Elizabeth's feedback and like changing things. And I was like, wow, it's made such a difference. So it's the whole of ABI for me has been about up leveling and realizing that I have the capacity to do that, having a beautiful support of Sam and your coaches, Robin and Elizabeth, and then also the support of the other ABIers with me, has been, yeah, very up leveling. So this launch, I increased my pricing also thanks to ABI. And listening to some of the coaching of other people, I was like, okay, I'm increasing the pricing to $1,500. And I was nervous to set goals because of the previous launch, but Sam coached me beautifully. And I set, okay, good enough goal, like cool, which was 33 people, 57 people which is the same as the previous launch, but now at an increased price. So 57 people was like, great, I'll be so happy to do that again. And 70 people was my stretch, wow, I'm shooting the lights out. Oh my goodness, I'm euphoric goal. And I have 63 people on the program. So I'm delighted. I also had just amazing signups for my masterclass. Over 1,600 people signed up for my masterclass. My database build has been amazing. Also attracting people from all over the world, which was also one of my big goals. And so, yeah, it's been profound, and it's been really, feels very, one of the things that Sam teaches is about process mastery. And I've always been so results orientated that I'm always about whatever the result is and getting hooked into the results. And because ABI has completely shifted my mindset around building processes in my business and building processes around my transformational work, and that it might be what feels like the end result, but it's also completely the beginning of the next phase of whatever I'm building. This feels foundational for me now, rather than, yay, it's a fabulous result. It feels like, yes, it's a fucking fabulous result, and I'm building foundation. And how do I make this foundational?
I love that so much. It really speaks to how regulated your nervous system is, because sometimes people hit big goals and have like these big transformations, and it feels so crazy to them that it doesn't actually land. But like just the way you're describing it, it's like, no, it's like it's settled in your body. It's landed in your body.
Yeah. And because I was doing the magic work directed by you, so I did a lot of my own root chakra, a lot of my own sacral chakra work around this, because I knew I needed to bring the energy down. A bit like what you're saying, like that euphoric thing has been often like, yay, I've had big launches, and all coming up into this higher space rather than grounding and grounding. So I've done a lot of, but really because it's been directed by like, do the mindset work, do the magic work. In fact, I have a practice now of 15 minutes of magic work at the beginning of my business day. Like, that's it. And that grounds, one of your practices about having a visionary CEO and being able to kind of check her out. And here she sits at my desk, and here's my picture of my visionary CEO and where she works and her office and who she is. And, like, it's one of the practices that I do in that 15 minutes is just checking into the future vision of my business. All of that, so powerful.
So what does it mean to you to be a visionary CEO, and what has your transformation of this been in the last few months?
I'm not sure yet whether I embody a visionary CEO. I don't think that I do. I think it still feels outside of me. It feels like I'm in the process of working towards that version of myself, being a visionary CEO. In fact, I still feel like I've got one foot in my old, like fly by the seat of my pants, create lots of stuff persona versus moving into visionary CEO. So I definitely feel like I'm in the transitionary phase, but I also feel very supported by the content, the systems, the processes behind ABI. I've gone into some in detail. I haven't gone into a lot in detail. That feels like the next level work for me. So for me, ABI and doing it in the group program was very much about implementing and putting in this launch, putting in a bigger strategy, which I've put in, and then putting in this launch and getting a great result. And now I've bought myself like 6 or 7 months of just business building time, which I don't think I've ever had in this business in 17 years. And that feels amazing. And I don't think I would ever, even if I had the time previously, would have known what to do with it. I would have just gone and launched or created another product, actually. Now I know what to do with it.
Yeah. I just want to skirt back to something that you said, just a curious question that's not really relevant to this call.
That's okay.
You said that you're living like two different people, and a part of you is still this person who's flying by the seat of your pants. And I'm wondering if that's even a part of yourself that you want to let go, or if the visionary CEO that is you has this paradox, because that also brings you joy.
So I definitely don't want to let go of it, because there's a heightened state of creativity that I get into when I'm in that space. So I definitely don't want to be a slow process, methodical, like that's not creatively who I am. But it feels really like when I feel into feeling grounded around having processes and systems and like real basic building blocks in place. And then saying, right, we're doing a launch, and now what extra am I creating, or what am I adding, or what's the, how do I get creative around the bonuses this time, or the social this time, or the lives, or we're doing a new masterclass, but everything else is staying the same, like that. Yeah. So that feels, I know, I don't think I'm ever going to lose the flyby. That there's a creativity that happens for me there that's incredibly invigorating. But it can quickly turn into like too much adrenaline and then burnout fast. And so there's a very fine line for me there that I've been navigating my whole life, actually. Yeah.
No, that resonates with me a lot. I know exactly what you're talking about that, because I call them my creative vortexes.
Exactly. Okay, then you get it.
But if it's something where I'm like too busy and there's all these responsibilities, and then I really want to be pulled over here, but I can't be pulled over there, but maybe I'd still go over there. So it's just exactly what you're talking about, of like building that system, that root system for your business to really function and sustain, and that it's safe, so that when you want to get pulled in that direction, you can, and it's totally safe to do so.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What would you say to people thinking about joining ABI, which is now called the Alchemical Business Accelerator, so ABA?
Just do it. If you're feeling, just do it. If you're feeling excited about it, if you're feeling nervous about it, yes, it's going to stretch you. Yes, it's a big investment. If you know you can make the investment, do it. It is such a powerful container. Make a plan, do it. It's so good for your business. And, with the community that we've had on it, I've been at a certain stage in my business, but there are people that are in much earlier stages of their digital businesses, and they've had also big shifts, big ahas, big what's next for them. And also learning a lot of things that I wish I'd done 6 years ago or 7 years ago and put into my business then, because things would be a lot easier and more streamlined now.